Have you ever wondered why, even though you know something isn't working, you stubbornly keep trying? Why does it seem so hard to let go, even when everything points to the fact that this person isn't right for you? What if this resistance isn't just about that person, but something within you? In today's video, Joe Dispenza reveals what really happens when you force a bond that isn't meant to exist, and how this persistence can push away what should truly be part of your life. You know that strange feeling that comes out of nowhere, like something isn't right, but you can't quite explain it? It's a subtle discomfort that arises when something doesn't sit well in a relationship. It could be a message from the universe trying to warn you, even if you don't notice it immediately. It's like a strange noise in your car that you ignore, thinking it will disappear on its own. At first, it seems harmless, but if you don't stop to check, the problem only grows. These signals aren't always obvious. Sometimes, it's a conversation that leaves you feeling uneasy, a promise that's never fulfilled, or a constant lack of reciprocity. You feel like something is off, but instead of listening to your intuition, you choose to ignore it and keep moving forward. After all, no one wants to think they've invested time and energy in the wrong person. But the universe has a curious way of working. It doesn't stop showing you the truth. So, what happens when you don't listen? The universe simply turns up the volume. Minor irritations turn into frequent arguments, disappointments pile up, and suddenly that feeling that something isn't right becomes a burden you carry every day. What's most interesting is that deep down, you already know. You know you're forcing something that isn't meant to happen. It's like trying to fit a puzzle piece that just won't go in. You push and press, but it never fits perfectly. Maybe you've been through this already. You believe that with patience and effort, everything will work out. You tell yourself that no one is perfect and that every relationship has ups and downs. That's true, but there's a difference between fighting for something with a future and stubbornly holding on to something the universe is clearly asking you to let go of. If the road is rocky from the start, it might be a clear sign this person isn't for you. The problem is that ignoring these signals doesn't make them disappear. They only become more noticeable. The universe tries to protect you, but when you don't listen, it lets you feel the consequences of your choices. Not to punish you, but because sometimes the only way to learn is through experience. However, the price can be high, often in the form of emotional exhaustion, frustration, and drained energy. If you've been through this or are experiencing it now, know that you're not alone. At some point, everyone has ignored these signs, believing things would improve over time. But maybe now is the moment to stop, take a deep breath, and listen to what the universe is trying to tell you. At first, it may feel difficult, but trusting these signs is the first step toward opening yourself up to something new, something that will truly bring you happiness. Tell me now, have you ever felt like the universe was trying to tell you something, but you ignored it? What happened next? And do you know what happens when you continue to ignore the universe's signals? Gradually, the weight grows heavier. What once felt like slight discomfort begins to turn into exhaustion that won't go away. It's not physical fatigue, but emotional. It's that feeling of waking up without energy, even though you didn't do anything particularly tiring. You start to feel drained, trying to hold on to something that feels like it's slipping through your hands. It's like swimming against the current. At first, you believe you can make it. After all, you've overcome many challenges before, right? But the further you go, the stronger the current becomes. You try everything, conversations, compromises, giving up things you enjoy, but nothing changes. Every failed attempt takes a little more out of you. Love, which should feel light, begins to feel like hard work, and happiness becomes rare, almost like a reward you receive from time to time. Over time, this exhaustion starts to show in other areas of your life. You're more irritable, less patient, even with things that didn't bother you before. Daily tasks feel overwhelming because all your energy is focused on maintaining a relationship that demands more than it gives. And the most painful part is knowing that despite all the effort, the emptiness is still there. Before we go any further, let me share something that might be the turning point you've been waiting for. If you're tired of cycles that hold you back and want to attract success, prosperity, and peace, pay attention to this. Many people feel trapped, unable to break free from negative patterns. But the truth is, every transformation begins in the mind. With this in mind, I created the ebook, The Formula for Powerful Affirmations, a practical and powerful guide to reprogramming your mind and discovering the best version of yourself. In this ebook, you'll learn how to use affirmations to break negative cycles and create a life full of abundance and fulfillment. With proven techniques based on years of practice and research, you'll discover how to attract success, peace, and become the person you've always wanted to be. The download link for the ebook is in the first pinned comment and the video description. Don't ignore this. Download it now and see how this ebook can be the first step toward transforming your life in just a few days. This cycle of constant attempts and failures generates a sense of helplessness. You start to wonder if the problem lies within you, if you're doing something wrong, or if you just need to fight harder for this relationship. But the truth is, effort isn't a sign of true love. It's a sign of lack of harmony. When two people are on the same wavelength, love flows effortlessly and doesn't require a daily struggle. Eventually, you reach a point where you have to make a decision. Continue fighting against the current or stop swimming upstream. Stopping doesn't mean giving up, but accepting that the path you are trying to take may not be the right one. Interestingly, it's the moment you let go that everything starts to fall into place in a lighter, more natural way. If this resonates with you, perhaps it's time to ask yourself, why am I fighting so hard to hold on to something that should bring me peace? The first step to breaking this cycle is realizing that not everything has to be a battle. Sometimes, letting go is the greatest act of courage you can take. And here lies the delicate issue. When emotional exhaustion lingers for too long, something deeper begins to happen. Without realizing it, you start to adjust in subtle ways to try to maintain the relationship. You gradually give up small parts of yourself. At first, it seems harmless, abandoning hobbies, changing opinions to avoid arguments, or ignoring your desires for the sake of peace. But over time, this quiet deconstruction begins to extinguish the essence that once made you feel whole. It's like slowly fading away. The energetic, opinionated person you once were begins to disappear, replaced by someone who simply wants to keep the other person close. Your decisions start to depend on how the other person reacts, and the fear of disappointment or being too difficult starts guiding your actions. And the hardest part? You often don't even realize it's happening. The exhaustion blends with the belief that giving up certain things is a normal part of love. But true love doesn't require you to disappear. It doesn't ask you to dim your light so someone else can shine. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and admiration, not silent sacrifices. If you feel like you're becoming someone you no longer recognize, it's a warning sign. When you try to be someone else to keep someone around, you inevitably lose touch with yourself. And this disconnection from yourself carries consequences. Unconsciously, you drift away not only from who you were, but from the things that once brought you joy. Friendships start to fade, dreams are set aside, and suddenly, the relationship becomes the only thing that matters. The problem is, when one person becomes the center of your world, every little crisis in that relationship feels like an earthquake. Reclaiming your identity might seem difficult, but it is possible. The first step is to remember that you deserve love exactly as you are, without having to mold yourself to fit someone else's life. Reconnecting with your interests, friendships, and passions is an act of reclaiming yourself. Because at the end of the day, the best version of you is the one who feels whole, regardless of who stands beside you. So, think about it. At what point did you start leaving parts of yourself behind? And more importantly, who do you want to be moving forward? This is the moment when things start to fall into a hard-to-break cycle. When you lose pieces of your true self, the relationship stops fulfilling you and turns into an endless chase for acceptance. No matter how hard you try, it feels like it's never enough. The same arguments resurface, the same pains return, and frustration builds. This cycle isn't random. When you lose touch with yourself, your true needs take a back seat. You begin to accept less than you deserve, believing that any scrap of affection compensates for all the effort. But by accepting less, you teach others how to treat you. And so, the cycle feeds itself. The most frustrating part is that even though you know something is wrong, it feels hard to break free. It feels like part of you still believes that with time, everything will improve. But the truth is, nothing changes until you break that cycle. This sense of being stuck drains your energy and gradually strips away hope for a light and healthy relationship. So, ask yourself, how many times have you gone through this same cycle? And what needs to happen for you to decide to break it for good? Over time, this repeating cycle begins to weigh not only on your mind, but on your body as well. Emotional frustration, which once seemed limited to your thoughts, starts manifesting physically. You feel constantly tired, even though you haven't done more than usual. Sleepless nights, persistent stress, and anxiety that once felt temporary become part of daily life. Your body, like your mind, begins to call for help. Joe Dispenza explains that the body stores unresolved emotions. When you live in a state of constant frustration or sadness, it reflects as muscle tension, migraines, shoulder pain, and even digestive issues. The negative energy accumulated in a relationship that doesn't flow finds a way to express itself physically. Every unresolved argument, every unspoken word gathers somewhere within you. Maybe you've already noticed it. That tightness in your stomach before a hard conversation, the shortness of breath in anxious moments, or the fatigue that lingers without a clear reason. These aren't just passing signals. They are warnings from your body, reminding you that something needs to change. But we often ignore these messages just as we ignore signs from the universe. Interestingly, the more you try to ignore it, the more intense these symptoms become. Suddenly, things that once felt bearable turn into triggers for anxiety or discouragement. Your body and mind operate in a constant state of alert, as if expecting the next problem. This drains not only your emotional health, but the quality of your life. The road to easing this burden isn't simple, but it begins with one decision: to take care of yourself. When you decide you no longer want to carry this weight, your body responds. The sense of lightness that comes from freeing yourself from a relationship that no longer serves you is almost immediate. You sleep better, breathe deeper, and realize that the peace you thought was so far away was within reach. All you had to do was put yourself first. Now let me ask you, are you listening to what your body is trying to tell you? If not, maybe it's time to pause and pay attention. Perhaps it's showing you the path to the healing you've been longing for. When the body starts sending signals, fear often takes over. A quiet but constant fear of losing the person who has become the center of your life. Even if you feel the weight of the relationship, the thought of letting go seems even more terrifying. You convince yourself that if you try just a little harder, maybe you can turn things around. It's like hoping that, with time, everything will return to how it once was. But the truth is, that fear comes from a very deep place. It stems from a sense of lack, the belief that if this person leaves, no one else will come along. It feels like this relationship, despite the exhaustion, is your last chance at love. And that belief is what makes you hold on to something that was never truly yours. How many times have you felt this way? Like trying to hold sand in your hands, watching it slowly slip through your fingers with no way to stop it? The more you squeeze, the faster it happens. This happens because true love doesn't require effort to stay. It remains because there is a connection, not because you try to force it. The most painful part of this fear is the illusion it creates, that you must prove your worth to deserve love, as if effort and sacrifice are the only things keeping the relationship alive. But love isn't a battle. Relationships that require constant struggle drain your life energy and leave no room for the lightness that true love brings. At some point, you have to ask yourself, what am I really trying to hold on to? Is it the person or the image I've created in my mind? Often, we fall in love more with the idea of who someone could be than with who they truly are. And that fear of loss only grows stronger. Maybe the answer isn't holding on tighter, but letting go. Accepting that if something doesn't flow naturally, it wasn't meant to stay. The fear of loss fades when you realize that what is truly meant for you will find a way to stay. And what isn't will eventually leave, no matter how hard you try. Before we continue, I have a small request that makes a big difference. If this resonates with you, leave a like. Not only will it help me create more content that supports you, but it will also show YouTube that this material is valuable to others like you. Now let's move forward, because the next point might be exactly what you need to take that step. And the most interesting part is that when you finally let go, new opportunities appear as if out of nowhere. It's as if releasing the past allows life to reorganize itself. Everything starts to flow more easily, and you gradually realize that what once felt like a loss was actually guiding you to the right path. It's hard to trust this process when you're still in the middle of it. But the truth is, if you keep receiving the same signals, experiencing the same cycles, and feeling the same heaviness, it might mean that something needs to be left behind. The universe is trying to show you that something greater is waiting. But first, you must be ready to let go of what no longer serves your growth. Ask yourself now, is what you're holding on to so tightly preventing you from experiencing something even greater? Maybe what you desire most is waiting on the other side of your decision to let go. When you recognize all the possibilities that have passed you by, that inevitable question arises: why didn't I choose myself sooner? It's easy to lose yourself in trying to maintain a relationship or please someone else. But there comes a moment when it becomes clear. The price you pay for abandoning yourself to keep someone else is too high. Putting others first while placing yourself second not only distances you from opportunities, but also from who you truly are. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's an act of self-respect. It's understanding that the truest form of love starts within. When you care for yourself, set boundaries, and recognize your worth, the world responds in kind. The problem is that often, out of fear of being rejected or seen as cold, you accept less than you deserve. But what does that really give you? Unequal relationships where you must shrink yourself to meet someone else's expectations. This cycle only breaks when you decide to put yourself first. At first, it may feel difficult, almost as if you're going against everything you've believed in. But over time, you realize that caring for yourself doesn't push the right people away. It distances those who are only close because they've benefited from your lack of boundaries. The relationships that remain are the ones that respect and appreciate you fully. Choosing yourself often means saying no to situations you used to tolerate. It means rejecting emotional scraps and creating space for deeper, healthier connections. It's learning to listen to your intuition and trusting that what's truly meant for you won't require constant effort to stay. And the most beautiful part, when you start choosing yourself, the universe responds. Things that once felt out of reach begin to appear. Opportunities, people, and experiences that reflect the love you cultivate for yourself show up in unexpected ways. Because when you choose yourself, life chooses you too. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself, in what moments of life did you not choose yourself? And what would change if, starting today, you decided that you deserve to be your greatest priority? When you choose yourself, something inside you shifts. It's as if the weight you've been carrying begins to lift off your shoulders. The constant tension, the need to please others, and the fear of losing someone start to lose their grip. Letting go doesn't mean you gave up or failed. Quite the opposite. It means you've finally recognized your worth. That realization brings a sense of relief that is hard to describe in words. You begin to see that the peace you were searching for in someone else was always within reach. You were just too busy holding on to something that no longer made sense. The moment you let go, a new space opens within you. This space isn't empty. It's filled with possibilities. It's an invitation to rediscover the parts of yourself that were forgotten in the process of losing yourself in someone else. The most beautiful part is that by letting go, you don't lose. You regain the freedom to live without the burden of a relationship that no longer brought you happiness. Mornings feel lighter, emotional exhaustion fades, and the feeling of suffocation is replaced by deeper, calmer breaths. You start to realize that there is life beyond this relationship, and it holds immense potential to surprise you. This new phase isn't defined by the absence of someone, but by the presence of who you are becoming. By letting go, you open yourself to new relationships, projects, and most importantly, a new version of yourself. Stronger, more confident, and fully aware of your worth. The feeling of lightness allows you to reconnect with what truly matters. Friendships that were set aside, hobbies that didn't seem to fit, and even dreams that felt distant begin to return to your life. It's as if you are rediscovering a world that was always there, but dimmed by the energy invested in something that no longer served you. The most interesting part is that with this new perspective, opportunities start appearing naturally. People who resonate on the same frequency as you cross your path. not because you're searching for them, but because you now have space for them. The universe responds to your decision to let go by bringing new experiences aligned with your true nature. This new reality doesn't mean the journey will be perfect or without challenges. But the difference is that now you walk with greater confidence. You understand that you don't have to accept less than you deserve, and that anything requiring you to diminish your worth isn't meant for you. The self-love that blossoms in this process becomes the foundation for all your future relationships, fostering healthy and balanced connections. Allow yourself to live this new reality with an open heart, because when you let go of what no longer serves you, you not only free yourself, you open up to a world of possibilities that have been waiting for the right moment to appear. After going through all of this, one truth becomes undeniable. Letting go isn't the end, but the beginning of something much greater. Sometimes, we spend so much time trying to hold on to something that isn't meant for us that we forget to see how much we can gain by letting it go. And when we finally release it, we realize that life wasn't punishing us. It was guiding us towards something that resonates more deeply with who we truly are. The process of letting go is a journey of rediscovering yourself. With each step, you uncover more of who you are. The strength you thought was lost returns. The confidence that was dormant begins to grow. And the self-love that may have taken a back seat for so long becomes your priority. The most beautiful part of it all is that what once felt like a loss turns into liberation. And gradually, you understand that you never needed to hold on so tightly to be happy. True happiness comes from within, from being in alignment with who you are and the decisions you make. Every person who enters your life brings a lesson. Some stay, while others leave, but all contribute to your growth. By letting go, you honor not only your personal journey, but also the lessons each relationship brought you. These experiences prepare you to live in healthier, lighter, and more authentic relationships moving forward. Look to the future with gratitude. The path that lies ahead is full of new possibilities, and now you are ready to embrace them. Because when you release what isn't meant for you, the universe finally brings what has been waiting for you all along. Something that makes your heart beat faster. You deserve more, and that more begins the moment you decide you are ready to receive it. Finally, if this content brought you clarity or inspiration, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It helps me create more content that can transform your life. Also, check out the videos appearing on your screen now. I'm sure they will help you even further on this journey of self-discovery. Don't forget to click the first pinned comment to download the ebook that will guide you step by step toward creating the future you desire. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video so we can continue growing together.